Hey everybody, since I've uploaded the Blood Mage Spark build, I've got a lot of great feedback from the community, so thank you very much for that. In this video, I want to give you a brand new update for all of the gear, the skill tree, Atlas passives, skill gems, and supports that you can use to get to the end game, all for under 1 Divine. At the current time of this video, 1 Divine Orb is up to 225 Exalts, so you can absolutely build this for a 1 Divine setup, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's very important for me that I make a build that isn't completely ridiculous so that more people could get here and more people can enjoy it, because not everybody has access to A, lot of time, and B, a ton of Divine. So let me show you what I've concocted from all of the feedback we've had from the community and our live stream, so you can get in there and blast and ask questions. Let's dig in. From the previous video, not too much of the gear has changed. A little bit more refinement has occurred. So the one that I have is still very similar. I have 2 modifiers that are going to give me extra damage as cold and lightning. And in this circumstance, those would give me multipliers on the damage. It's not just additive. So go for that where you can. I was extremely lucky. I hit a fractured +5 level of all lightning spells. That's pretty good. That allows me to basically re-roll this wand as much as I want and know that I'll never ever lose lightning spells, which is great. If I press Alt though, you can see sort of how the item breaks down. And one thing I would try to do, one thing I'd recommend doing, is getting rid of increased chance to shock. We don't need to do that. We do so much lightning damage in this build anyway. That should really be increased critical hit chance on spells. And that actually unlocks quite a bit of opportunity for us throughout the build. And I'm going to try to discuss that later on in the video, so don't skip a beat on that one. It's really important because that opens up so many choices for you. I am still using Mask of the Sanguimancer. I'm also using Edziri's Acuity. I don't think that this is optional. I do think it's mandatory for the build. When Leech is instant from critical hits, that's everything for you. That's immediately giving you back life to spend on spells. Inside of the gloves, I did socket Soul Core of Jaquani. These are giving you increased maximum life percents, +2 apiece. As for the helmet, I did put +40 to life as well. For the chest, I'm using this Flowing Raiment. It's still just sufficient for the build, and it's pretty cheap, and then you can get your hands on this as well. It's not going to be all that expensive. It does have a really high life roll of 215 life. It's got +56 spirit, and it does have dual res of fire and lightning, and that's basically all we need to make the build crush. As for the neck, there's a few options we can do. We are going to use Choir of the Storm. It's a unique Jade Amulet. There's no question about that. But I want to talk about some interesting tech that's been kind of brought up to me and share it with you. So we're going to allocate Lightning Rod on our amulet. And if I open up the skill tree here and I go all the way to the south at the bottom, Lightning Rod is basically telling us that 30% of the time, so 30% of all the damage that we deal with our damage is going to be lucky. So we are going to roll that damage twice. If one's got a low roll of lightning damage, let's say we attack with a spark, and a spark only did 16,000, but we hit with another spark and it did 30,000, the game would give us the 30 and dismiss the 16. You always get 30% of the time the higher number that's rolled. So when you're trying to see how much output you can do, I think Lightning Rod is a no-brainer. It's the obvious choice for me. It's the one I like the most. It is expensive though, but it's the one that I prefer, okay? And what this is doing for the entire build, in case you didn't get a chance to check out the previous version, is that critical hits ignore enemy monster lightning resistance. So basically you don't care at all about what the resistance is of any enemy, and you hit everything the same. You do the same sort of damage because certain monsters might have more lightning resist than others, and this Choir of the Storm says no you don't, and have a nice time. And when you do hit these guys with a critical hit, you will have Lightning Bolt triggered, and that's a trigger skill. We're going to talk about that as we get through the video as well. Now, when it comes to anointment on the Choir of the Storm, you do have a few options in the end game, and while I do enjoy Lightning Rod, there is another option for you that is getting a lot of traction, and I think you should check it out, see if it's for you. It's called Fast Metabolism, so you can allocate Fast Metabolism as well, and if we look at it, life leech effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled. So, kind of dumbing it down, you're allowed to leech life instantly because Edziri's Acuity is working for you in Fast Metabolism. You're casting your skills with life. And so with this allocation, even though you're at the cap of your life, the game is still leeching for you. So when you have, and I'll go through the ascendancy for you, when you have life remnants giving you over capped HP, you continually heal beyond that, but you're not going to be higher than your double cap. That's just the way the game is, but the game's registering you as leeching. So you're going to cast one of your shock skills or your spark skills, whatever you do, and then all of a sudden you're just immediately leeching back. So it feels really nice. That's what Fast Metabolism does. So if you're looking for more of a tanky choice, I think Fast Metabolism would be worth testing for yourself. If you're looking for the most damage, in my opinion, that's Lightning Rod 30% of the time, all the time. Okay, so moving on. The rings, you're going to notice I didn't invest in breach rings, and I didn't roll good breach rings myself. What you're looking for in the rings with a little bit more investment is maximum life and then strength, and it's of course resistance, with damage to lightning increased. If you can get that, that will help you tremendously. I've got some questions in the chat, in the community as well, but like, how do I scale up my damage? And it's pretty simple. Just increase your life. The more life you do, the more crit damage you do, and you should have a very high % chance to crit with this build. We'll cover that as well. But beyond that, you want to do more lightning damage, increase your elemental damage, all that will help you. So I've got a sapphire ring that does that. We're looking for things like lightning damage, life, strength. Rarity is a bonus. On the other ring, it's same kind of thing. % lightning damage, a lot of life, and a lot of strength. Remember that every point of strength that you have will give you 2 life. And that also adds up with maximum life on the ring. So definitely go for that. Now in the offhand, you have plenty of choices here. I absolutely prefer cast speed. I like my sparks coming out nice and quick. It's just how I enjoy playing the game. But you have some choices in that you don't have to get a focus. If you wanted to do a scepter offhand, you certainly could do that. An omen scepter may be the move for you. And that does open up some interesting choices, which we're going to discuss in just a second. So on my hallowed focus, I would also be looking for the following: +2 to all skills, good cast speed, extra spell damage, but most important, get that increased critical hit chance for spells. If you can get that, that is going to tremendously aid you in the skill tree conversation, because you want to make sure you're getting the highest % chance to crit, ideally 100% for the build. And that's what I'm using a focus for. I want to get cast speed, critical hit chance for spells, and then plus to skills if I can eventually get there. I didn't hit that on mine, but I'm doing a-okay without it. The higher skills you have on Spark, the more expensive or draining, watch my life, that it is to play the build. So you are going to require that spell leech to kick in for you, and also the life remnants to activate basically your life or you're going to die. Let's look at the belt. And by the way, hasn't had an issue yet. The belt, I never really had to change this. The heavy belt is still Nemesis Tether, so it had Tri-Res, which is crazy, and 163 to life. The punishing part is that it was just 1 charm slot. So if I could have got more, it would have been great, but I currently have the Stone Charm to prevent stun. I would have had anti-freeze, and then maybe, you know, increased rarity just because. That's the triple charm slot, excuse me, I would have went for. Now, I'm going to divulge a bit of a secret here. This is the one thing he doesn't want you to know. I paid 2 divines for these boots, and the reason is I got 35% increased movement speed. If I didn't care about that extra 5%, which I subsequently did after hitting so many divines, because we could map like cleanly with this build, you could just get 30%. It's not a big deal, but I wanted 35. And that's why I paid 2 divines. If I didn't want the 35 and I wanted to settle for 30, which you can too, it's going to cost you a lot less to trade for. So go for 30% movement speed if there's some pressure on the wallet. That's not a problem at all. But that's kind of what happened here. So now that you have an idea about the gear, the weapon swap is a chiming staff, and this just allows us to do more single target damage. And we do allocate some skill choices on the weapon swap, which we're going to discuss in a second. So let me tell you, if you are the kind of person that has currency, you got several divines, like you got a bunch, and you want to spend some to make the build pop even more and do some really crazy damage. Maybe you want to do multiplayer carries all the time, which is awesome. Thanks for doing that. Here are some options and choices you could potentially check out. First and foremost, Prism of Belief. It's going to be expensive, but look for a +3 to arc Prism of Belief. If you can get that and you have a bunch of dough, like you get a bunch of divines, that's going to make your damage extremely punchy. All your cast on crit effects will subsequently make arc happen. And the way that we're going to make this work to do punchy damage is that while we're using cast on crit, when we're mapping, just killing regular content, we erode it all easy with arc, spark, impetus, and energy retention. But for bossing, you can easily just toss in the triple arc, and it's crazy good damage. Like on T4 Zest here, you can see we just annihilate that guy. Like he gets crushed. So with that setup, Prism of Belief is basically giving you 3, 6, 9 plus 9 to all skills, essentially, right? It's crazy value. Pretty nuts if you can do that. The next thing you can do is maybe look at getting a Wrathpith unique Sacred Globe offhand. It is really, really pricey on the 6% of your maximum life as additional cost, but the benefits of increased critical hit chance per 100 max life and 10% increased damage per max life is a no-brainer for the build, simply because we scale that life anyway. And I did test with Wrathpith and it felt very, very good. The damage is extremely noticeable, but it is heavy. So I would never recommend that for hardcore. That's a death sentence, but the damage is really, really good in softcore. And you can easily set it up so that you're just ripping through with sparks with that kind of damage. It's just pricey and killing bosses easily. Another big conversation piece is Alpha's Howl. There's a few things about Alpha Howl that I don't like for the build. Evasion base, I don't care at all. I'd much rather have energy shield, but sometimes you can't have all the nice things. The reason this thing is being brought up is because of the +100 spirit. So if you're bougie enough and you got like, 20 to 40 divine based on the trade economy at the time, and you can get your hands on an Alpha's Howl, here's what that's going to do for you. Because the build requires you to have a 50+ spirit chest, If you had Alpha's Howl instead of Mask of the Sangomancer and you completed the campaign, you would subsequently have in the range of about 250 plus spirit, which would allow you to have double cast on critical, which would then allow you to have a lot more build options if that's the way you want to go because you have extra bank. So imagine for a second, and you can see what kind of damage you're doing on bosses already. You can imagine for a second that we have a cast on critical for a boss that was arc, sound like a seal, impetus, and then spark. The other one would be arc, energy retention spark. As an example, you would immediately crush content way more than I am, and I'm doing just fine now. With that much output, I would then consider going with fast metabolism instead of lightning rod, just so that we could appreciate the overhealing that we're getting, so we could pay the cost with our life every time these arcs proc from our cast on critical. That's what Alpha's Howl would allow you to do. Now, this entire build isn't trying to be that guy because I'm trying to make this affordable for everybody. And at one divine or less, I think I've done that successfully. But if I really wanted to take this thing to Beverly Hills, I would immediately toss on Alpha's Howl, I would throw on a Wrath Pith, and I would buy a Prism of Belief with Arc or Spark, and I would rip this game a fresh new one because that much plus to damage would just be crazy. And if you see builds like that, they're awesome. I just didn't want to make that for myself or you. I don't think it's ultimately realistic for the vast majority of people, but hey, that's okay. I like having options. Finally, let's talk about the flasks for a second. So I have an ultimate life flask of the wide. So we are removing 15% of life recovered from mana, which we don't have any. We have no mana. So we just get to enjoy 2,000 life over 3 seconds at 20% quality. On the mana side, the Effervescent Ultimate Mana Flask of the Plentiful has increased charges of 41%, which is pretty great. We are using Ambrosia on Orb of Storm, so with Ambrosia, we are going to have supported skills dealing 3% extra damage as lightning per Mana Flask charge consumed. So having more charges just makes sense, so we have more opportunities to deal more damage because we have more charges on our Mana Flask. And that basically sums up what our gearing is at the moment for about a divine, and that is current market rate, so that's fantastic. Let's go ahead and check out the skill tree to discuss what's been changing on that side. The Ascendancy, nothing's really changed. Surprise, surprise, we have to get Sangomancy to start. Your next selection should be Vitality Siphon so that you are leeching spell damage as life. That's essentially how the engine works. And then you're going to grab Gore Spike, which is going to increase your critical damage bonus per 40 life. And then you're also going to grab Sunder the Flesh because this will increase your base critical hit chance for spells basically to 15 instead of 9, which it is for everything that we're doing. One thing to note is that Gore Spike's critical damage bonus per 40 life that you have is not calculated on the spell itself. So if you right click on your Spark, you might see that I've got 98.1% crit hit chance and 447% damage, but it is quite a bit higher than that because the game is not showing you that when you check this out. So just to give you an example what I mean, if I refund my passive skills and I take away Gore Spike, I just lost 1% increased critical damage bonus per 40 life, and I've got 2,600. Yet if I look at Spark, I can still see 447. So something is not being added there for you. Just do some quick napkin math, and you can see how much your character is going to use and enjoy. Put those points back. Let's take out the skill tree for a wild ride here and have a look. So the things I've changed recently is that I did not invest so much into Patient Barrier, and I didn't grab Energy Shield. I've removed these points. I'm just going more damage, and I want to make sure that I'm getting through maps as comfortably as possible in sub 5 minutes ideally. Now, depending on how much content's in a map, obviously it's going to take me more time, but there's a few rules that I'm trying to follow. I want to be at 100% crit if I can. I'm currently level 93, and if I was 95, we'd have it, and that's fine, but these are the choices. So Dynamism, I'm rigid on this. I want to stay here. I want to get 40% increased damage if I've triggered a skill recently, and triggering a skill is from Cast on Critical. It's also from Choir of the Storms because every time we crit, we get that lightning bolt skill. So these are trigger effects, subsequently giving us more damage. Additionally, I am taking Energize and I am taking Invocated Efficiency. These, we're paying ourselves off for using the items that we have in the way that the build is operating with Cast on Crit. I wouldn't change this. Now, if you don't want to have non 100%, you could grab a couple critical hit chance nodes and then bang, you'd be there at 100%. But I'm giving these two nodes up and my level to grab the following: Turn the Clock Forward, and then additional spell projectiles. Now, you don't have to do this, but I'm just testing it and it feels really nice to me. So what we're doing here is we're allowing Spark is a projectile, by the way. We're allowing our projectiles to be faster, and then sometimes when we get here, deal additional sparks. So we increased our critical hit occurrence more and our damage just goes up. Sometimes when you cast a spark, it can reflect off things. So if there was a target here and I spark and I hit it, and that target gets hit by the spark incoming, and then bouncing back, that one spark projectile hit twice. So that's why you kind of want to have increased projectile speed so that that can occur more frequently. I did try Drenched, didn't feel good at all, got out of there immediately. We don't need the extra damage as cold, and it isn't worth the points in my opinion. You do want to get Branching Bolts, it's fantastic, also works with some of the new skill gem tech that we're doing, the supports. You do want to grab Storm Charged. This is essentially the tree, you guys. We just max out as much critical hit damage as we can, and we also try to get as much critical hit as we can so that we do crit frequently, pretty much all the time. And at 98.1%, that's pretty damn always. That's the skill tree so far. There's not much to talk about from the previous version other than the skill gems inside that I bought, excuse me, the jewels, these sapphire jewels. So let's talk about these for a second. I've been using spell damage, increased critical hit chance for spells. That's basically the two things I was filtering off to trade for, and they came in at anywhere between 25 exalts to 40 exalts to buy these, and they probably still are available for that. You may pay a little bit more to get something like this one, which is awesome for a few reasons. Not only do you get critical hit chance 9%, but you also get critical hit chance for spells. You kind of double dip on the chance to crit. And so if you have the situation within this skill tree and your jewels where you're allowed to make a choice because you're over 100% crit hit, start taking away points from critical hit and start looking at other fun things you could do. As an example, if I had, let's say, 125 or I had 200 because a wand I had something like 95% chance to crit or 101 to 109 being the highest, if you have something in that range, that's really, really exciting for you. And that's why it's worth investing in it, because you no longer have to take critical hit nodes like you may before. And without the need for these critical hit chance nodes in the skill tree in certain areas, that allows you to, let me see if I have an example here. There's another crit hit chance we could save. If I'm not taking those points, I can change the build path in such a way that I can grab blood magic just naturally by going around the edge. And with that choice, with no need to get blood magic from the helmet of Mask of the Sangomancer way later, you can get some really interesting choices like Alpha's Howl or other energy shield based helmets with life on them and critical hit chance as well, so that you can basically become more tanky, but not rely so much on the unique requirement of this blood magic that this unique gives us. So that's just a couple things you could do. If you want to stay that way, you could also start to incorporate more into cast speed if you wanted to, get more damage if you needed to. You have some really exciting choices in however you want to build this. That's what critical hit chance is going to give you and why you may want to invest in it in your sapphire jewels or across the board with your gear. Next thing we're going to talk about is the skill gems and the supports. So let's speak in plain English and tell you what's up. From the top, thank you guys for your patience. The original build link didn't include the lightning bolt that was provided from Choir of the Storm, so my apologies on that. So sitting at 50,412 damage, lightning bolt support is considered casting concentrated effect, lightning mastery, and ingenuity. Haven't changed that, and it's sufficient for what we're trying to do, and does it ever pack a punch? It's been fantastic. Life Remnants, couple of changes here. So Life Remnants using Dissipate and Magnetism, that is required. You got to do it. Cannibalism, giving you 2% max life recovered on kill, helps the build feel nice while you're playing. You're just getting more life as you kill, and it kind of helps you feel tanky and keeps your character alive to cast more spells. You're also going to use Mysticism, and this is primarily for pinnacle content. So you're only going to deal 30% increased spell damage while you have full energy shield, and things are going to be hitting you while you play unless you immediately kill them. So Mysticism is trying to set you up to do 30% more damage initially for these fights, and then expect that your energy shield goes away because maybe you get hit with a taser, something hits you and takes away some energy shield. So get 30% more damage while you can. And finally, I'm using Interlude. So the effects of Remnants, which is provided from your Sangomancy skill for Life Remnants, occur 3 seconds after you pick them up. But the effect is increased by 25%. So 25% plus the 35 coming together gives you 60% increased effect of the Life Remnants when you pick it up. And this might sound really bad, and for hardcore I would not recommend this at all. But in the softcore scene, it feels fine. 3 seconds goes by quick in Path of Exile too, so as you're navigating the content, picking up all these orbs throughout the maps, your character is always like above your life cap, because you're constantly grabbing life from your spell damage that you leech and then these life remnants. So grab Interlude, give that a test, tell me what you guys think. As for Spark, you are going to want to get a Perfect Jeweler's Orb with PJO, and once you've got that, you're looking for Arcane Tempo, Mobility, Inspiration, Acceleration, and Gamble Shot is the new tech. This is what I'm trying, and it's been feeling just fine. So all of the sparks, as projectiles, fired by supported skills, fork, chain an additional time, or pierce an additional time at random. So it's going to do this. It's going to give you the fork, the chain, an additional time, or pierce. It just happens. But projectiles from supported skills are going to deal 15% less damage. And remember that in our skill tree, we do have branching bolts. So we have 60%, 20%, 20% chance every single time. So it's a 100% chance for lightning skills to chain. And so with this setup with Gamble Shot, it's kind of nice. Might chain an additional time, which is really cool. Orb of Storms. Thank you for the comments on the YouTube side, guys. Amazing, amazing. This helps a lot. Overabundance is now what we're using. We're using Ambrosia, Magnified Effect, and Elemental Focus. So no longer can Orb of Storms give me shock. It can't give me elemental ailments. But what it can do is just do 25% more damage while it's out. We used to use Lightning Exposure, which would benefit from the enemy lightning resistance being negative. But remember that Choir of the Storms, we don't care what it is. We actually ignore that entirely. So don't use Lightning Exposure anymore. That's probably a no-no. And thank you guys. Again, appreciate the insight. Glad we could get that cleaned up and do more damage for folks. Cast on critical. This is a ever-changing scene. So when you're mapping, Arc, Spark, Spark, Impetus, Energy Retention. Whenever you kill a boss or you're going to work towards a boss, that's where you're going Arc, Arc. Actually, if you killed the boss, you wouldn't really care, but yeah, so you're going to be doing like a bit of a skill swap here. So this is what it should look like. Triple Arc, Impetus, Energy Retention. When you're mapping, it's going to be double Spark, singular Arc. Might be kind of confusing, but the reason is this double Spark setup in maps feels so smooth, buttery smooth, that you're appreciating the mobility choice because you're moving quicker. Because you're not casting like this. You're not just holding down Spark when you play. You're kind of going like this now, and that feels great. Finally, you are going to use Blink on Swap and Skeletal Cleric, but you're only going to have these on weapon set 2 and Soul Offering as well. Soul Offering is going to use Dance Macabre, Ablation, and Persistence. So the setup is we're going to press Chiming Staff, essentially giving you Sigil of Power, and then when this is down, we're going to cast Soul Offering, Spark, Double Orb, and send it. Now you're at low life, but that is your pinnacle setup. That's your rotation. This way, you're going to crush. You're going to crush bosses, and you'll see that on the Zesh Tier 4. We just full send, and sometimes we don't even use Soul Offering. You don't need it, but it's available for you if you need more damage. That is the current setup. Now, to get this, might be a little bit confusing, so I'll click the arrow here for the Cleric. You'll notice that used with weapon set, I only want these undead guys showing up on the second weapon set, and that's so when I'm, watch the bottom here on Spirit, when I'm messing around with my weapon swaps, it doesn't actually interfere with the way that I'd naturally play. And a few things you can do as well, just to make this feel smooth, is click on these skills. Like look at, as an example, Orb of Storms. I'm only going to cast Orb of Storms on weapon set 1. I'm only going to cast Spark on weapon set 1. So what that means is, using the game, I can just drop down the sigil and then bang. The second that I put down these orbs, I'm already on weapon set 1, which is basically giving me the additional plus to skills and all that cast speed. So don't worry so much about screwing up the rotation. You're dropping the sigil, drop your boys, bam, bam, and that's it. Now you have that's your setup. That's your max damage. So again, Sigil of Power, Soul Offering, Double Orb of Storms, hold down right click and get ready to pick up loot. Finally, I want to talk about the Atlas skill tree. And this is where I'm at with it. I have tried strong boxes. I did not try shrines, but pretty much I stuck to doing Breach content, got into some Delirium content and Expedition thus far. My bossing's okay. I could max that out as well, which I should. But for everybody playing, I think that I get the most benefit out of producing more quantity with my character. So some of these choices are trying to enjoy the Precursor Tablet benefits and the Waystone benefits while also increasing the density in a map. And I'm always trying to use local knowledge because it just seems to be the move for me. I'm hitting plenty of currency, bubblegum currency. It's not an issue. So this is sort of what we're doing. I think sticking to the core is the best for me, and again, it's open for conversation. I tried the Asmiri setup with the buffs, didn't feel any different at all. And when I give it some more thought, I think I'd rather just benefit from things like item rarity and maps and quantity and all that. I'd rather have all this happening all the time instead of just sometimes. Another thing to talk about the strong boxes, which is unfortunate, is when I spec'd into strong boxes, I felt like I had to clear more of the map just because I might be missing one of these strong boxes, which is maybe something you want to do at a casual rate, but I'm trying to blast through these maps, kill the rares, kill the boss, move on to the next one, you know, get to my crisis fragments and haul ass. And strong boxes didn't really do that for me. I have no interest in killing more rogue exiles. They just flop anyway. So for me, I think this is the way I'd recommend everybody give it a shot. And to start this skill tree off, I'm going to go up top. I grab some of these nodes first. Then I kick my way down, and I'm going to grab some density, and ultimately I improve the things that these monsters could drop and how they drop it. That would be sort of the structure for that. But this is the skill tree again. It's all available in the description if you ever want to check it out. And there should be there should be little markers throughout the video. You guys can click around and grab it up if you need. So this is my Atlas skill tree, and that's it. That's the entire build. I sincerely hope that this gives you a little bit more confidence that you could do this for about a divine. Feel free, give it a shot. Tell me how you guys are doing in the build in the comments below. Again, as you can tell, I read them and you absolutely have impact. So thanks for checking it out, everybody. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.